E.J. Johnson is gender fluid, 6'2", and presenting as a woman, and he has made it clear straight men are his dating pool of choice. Yet most people are too afraid to ask the obvious question. When someone rejects the rules of an identity but still wants the benefit of it, what exactly are we being asked to accept? That's what we're getting into today. That's our topic today.
I don't attract gay men, and I'm not attracted to gay men. Like, it's just not a thing.
Tell me more about that.
It's just, I think, like, if you ask any of the girls, like, they'll tell you the same. And I think they're just labels. That's why, like, I don't care what, like, I'm dating someone. I'm like, I don't care what you identify as or what you call yourself, as long as you're happy being who you are. But no, but to be honest, it's like, that's why I don't go to gay clubs. I don't go to, gay things, because it's like the men that I attract are not there. And also, like, they're like, they kind of like wave you off. You're just like, oh, that, hey girl, like, it's not, you're not in here like the rest of us are. It's just, it's always, but I never really understood it until now, because before, when I would go and I just was like, there's something about this room. It's like, it's almost like they don't want me here. Like, I'm not really in it here, because I'm not presenting as a man. I'm not presenting in that way.
And to be clear, the gay community room.
Yeah.
Of your own community. Yeah.
But it's not like a shameful thing, or just like, oh, they're mean to me. But it's like, these are not my men in terms of attraction. Now, if I'm just going to have a kiki, sure. But like, these are not the men that are interested in me in that capacity. I do that when I go to the straight rooms.
If someone told you that a person can identify however they choose and still have the right to pursue you romantically, would you know how to respond to that? Most people wouldn't, because this conversation is moving fast and nobody is stopping to think through what is actually being asked of us. But if you are a straight man or woman trying to make sense of what gender fluidity means for your dating life, your values, and your boundaries, this video is for you, and you need to hear this now. By the end of this video, you will have a clear, fact-based understanding of what gender fluidity is, what E.J. Johnson has actually said about identity and dating, and the language to hold your position without apology to him or anyone. Because when someone redefines who they are, but then reaches into a dating pool that was never theirs, that is a conversation the rest of us are allowed to have. Because he's seeking to taint our dating pool. Before we have this conversation, we need to get the facts straight on E.J. Johnson, and we need to get the truth straight from Scripture. A lot of people assume E.J. has transitioned or is transgender, and that is not accurate. Understanding exactly where E.J. stands on his own identity and where God stands on the body he created is the only way to have an honest conversation about this. E.J. Johnson came out as gay in 2013. For years, people speculated about whether a transition was coming, but E.J. has been consistent. In a 2019 interview, E.J. stated plainly there are no plans to transition, saying he feels like he is in the body he is supposed to be in. As recently, E.J. shifted away from he, him pronouns and is now using she and they. So here is what we are actually dealing with. A biological man who is uncomfortable enough with masculinity to reject it publicly, but comfortable enough with his male body to keep it. That is not a settled identity. That is contradiction and utter confusion. Scripture is not silent on this. Genesis 1:27 says, God created human beings, male and female. Psalms 139:14 says, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. God does not make mistakes with the body he gives us. When a person rejects the body God designed for them, not through medical necessity, but through a desire to present differently, that rejection has a name. It is a refusal to accept God's design. The politically correct term is gender fluidity. But what we are really talking about is a person who is in conflict with what God declared good. And that conflict does not stay private. It spills into every relationship, every space, and every pool that person enters. E.J. Johnson is a biological male created by God who has chosen to reject the design of that creation in presentation while keeping the body itself. That is the foundation, and everything else in this conversation builds on it. Now that we are clear on what it is, let's talk about where it gets personal, the deliberate pursuit of straight men. EJ has publicly stated a preference for dating straight men. He has said he does not frequent gay spaces because his target market is not there. This is not a casual comment. It is a window into the motivation behind a very specific and calculated choice. Here is the question nobody is asking directly. Why would a gender fluid person who has rejected the identity of a straight male specifically pursued straight men who are attracted to women? Think about that. If EJ identified fully as a woman and had transitioned, that conversation would look different. But EJ has not transitioned. EJ is a big, bogey, biological, rough, tough man with some makeup in a male body by his own choice and his own words, and is now positioning himself inside a space that belongs to women competing for straight men. That is not affection. That is not even attraction. That is an infiltration, a pollution, a tainting of our dating pool. Some will say EJ is simply being honest about preference, but there's a deeper motivation here. When a person is in spiritual and identity confusion, they do not stay in that confusion alone. Confusion seeks validation. And the greatest validation a gender fluid biological man can receive is a straight man choosing him over a woman. That is not a relationship. That is a conquest. It is an attempt to resolve internal confusion by pulling someone else into your mess. And straight men who do not understand what is happening will not see it coming. Proverbs 14:12 says, there is a way that appears right to a man, but in the end, it leads to death. A man who finds himself attracted to a gender fluid biological male and calls himself straight is not being progressive. He is being deceived by himself, by the presentation, by the culture, and by his own flesh. You're lying to yourself. If you're attracted to a gender fluid man and you call yourself straight, you're lying to yourself. The motivation behind pursuing straight men is not romantic. It is validation seeking. And straight men who engage with it are not expanding their identity. They are losing it. So let's be completely clear about what straightness actually means and what it does not. Right now, there are Right now, there is an enormous social and cultural pressure on straight men to be open to dating outside of what they are actually attracted to. The framing is that resistance equals intolerance. But that framing is built on a lie, and it is time to dismantle it completely. Let's state this plainly. A straight man is attracted to women, biological women. Women created by God in a feminine body with a tender gentleness, with the identity that matches that body. That is what straight means. It is not complicated. It is quite simple. It is not outdated, and it is not negotiable. If a man is attracted to a biological man who presents as a female, that man is not straight. He is not straight if he is attracted to someone gay. He is not straight if he is attracted to someone bisexual. He is not straight if he is attracted to someone that is transgender. There is no version of a straight man that includes, or straight that includes, any of those categories. None. Romans 1:26-27 speaks directly to the confusion of natural order. When people exchange what is natural for what is not, the result is not freedom, it is disorder and chaos. And the culture right now is selling disorder as liberation. The pressure being placed on straight men to be open to these relationships is not a cultural evolution. It is an insult on it is an assault on a God-given identity. A straight man does not need to examine his attraction. He does not need to be more open. He does not need to explain himself to anyone. He knows exactly who he is, and no gender fluid person, no celebrity story, and no cultural moment gets to walk into that and rewrite it. Straightness is not a feeling. It is a definition. And no cultural moment, no celebrity story, and no social pressure changes what that word means. And that brings us to the bottom line of this entire conversation. You can repeat someone's right to live their life. You can respect someone's right to live their life and still refuse to let their confusion become your compromise. God gave you a clear identity, and you are not required to apologize for living in it. I'm Deborah, and this is Family Still Matters. Because family still matters, keeping chaos, confusion out of our dating pool matters too. We don't want our dating pool. Heterosexual people do not want our dating pool tainted. You confused? Stay in your LGBT community. Embrace it. You chose it. If this video message, I'm going to stop there. If this video gave you the words for something you've been feeling but couldn't say, hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a thoughtful comment. May God continue to richly bless you. God bless.